I don't know if we actually send you this. I think we did a draft of what their scope of work is described here and the assumptions.
Yep.
And it described what they thought was the scope of work, and the fee is according to this. So, and if you have any feedback on, do you think some of these are not necessary at this point in time? Maybe.
So let me stop you
Go
there.
ahead.
I did receive this from Roger. I did review it, and I did send Roger back comments.
Okay.
And it was in those comments, it was in that conversation, written conversation, where I told him I was concerned with some of what I was seeing in the scope of work.
Okay.
I don't remember the 3 or 4 comments that I made, but I told him, Roger, this is what I'm looking at quickly, my first pass, and I have these concerns. Then we dropped off at that point.
Okay.
We did talk about the suggestion of having them come by and speak with us again, just to make sure that they understood the scope of work, right? Because as we spoke earlier on the phone, it's important for me to communicate to TEF, their consultants, that these pieces of equipment could be installed as maintenance projects. What does that mean? That means that we do not have to go through HCI, right? As long as we're installing in-kind equipment, HCI says we don't care. The moment that you change the power requirements, the water requirements, any of the utilities, that's when HCI says, okay, now stop. We need to make sure that we're okay to do this work, because now it's different. So I have direct communications from the manufacturer who said they're going to replace the pot wash. They wanted to replace the pot wash and the dishwasher exactly in kind. What does that mean? Exactly in kind means exactly what I just told you, that they go in as equipment replacement and we don't need any drawings. The cart wash, however, is the third piece of equipment. We don't currently have one of those in our kitchen, and we want that to be installed as part of this project. So how does it get us to TEF and their sub-consultants? Because Oleg is very conservatively asking that we bring in design professionals to verify that we have all the power needs, all the utilities connections that we need. And that means that we bring you guys in from DPW, and that means that we're going to formally go through a HCI process, right? But there has to be clarity that we don't need that on 2 pieces of the equipment, because they're equipment replacement in kind.
Replacement in kind.
So what does then the scope entail? For 2 of the pieces, the dishwasher and the pot washer, we just want confirmation from TEF. We just need them to come in, look at the cut sheet that we provided, and say, yes, power needs are there, the water needs are there, steam is there, the drainage connections are there. We just need that confirmation, right? Again, because Oleg wants to make sure that we conservatively take this approach. He doesn't want to come back later and say, well, someone told me that it was okay to replace that piece of equipment, only to find out that that was wrong, right? So that's the service that TEF and their subs would be providing. They would come in and they say, yes, Laguna Honda, based on your cut sheets of the equipment you're replacing, you have all the power, the water, the steam, the plumbing connections that you need. That to me is a very quick and simple ask. It gets a little more complicated with the cart wash. That's the third piece of equipment, because we don't currently have one installed. We have an area in the kitchen, dishwash location, where there's one scheduled, but we never provided one as part of the project. So now what we're doing is we're asking the kitchen equipment manufacturer to bring in a piece of equipment. They've done a preliminary review. They've come in, they said, yes, we can install it for you, everything you need is here, but they're not the professional designers that we're asking to give us a verification from, a confirmation, right? TEF
It's professional.
does are. And the reason we will do that, and we'll pay your fees, we'll pay the TES fees to get this feasibility report done, is because we want to be able to come back if something doesn't go right and say, we had a professional look at this and they did their due diligence and they told us everything was fine. Okay, that's what we're looking for at this point.
Okay, so the design profession is agreeing with what you want to do, but the fact that we have to submit documentation to HCI for their approval, that documentation will have the two replacement plus the new.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that they check in with HCI. That is indeed a equipment replacement in kind, and therefore will be minimum of review on those equipment and utilities.
Yeah.
And the other one needs more. So we need them to take the next step instead of just, and that's part of just professional due diligence, to make sure that we don't come back to you later after they submitted the documentation and they commented on you haven't provided everything. So that's what their proposal is saying, that they need to make sure the approval agency agrees on the explanation that's given to you by the manufacturer. And so after that, we free to go, right?
Perfectly succinctly stated. I think that's what we're looking for. I think where the disconnect might be though, is the amount of effort required to do that, right? We're architects. We know that you've done this many times, where we call HCI and we say, this is what we're doing, right? And we do a little bit of history, research first, get all your codes and everything that says, you know, we can do this as a piece of equipment that is a replacement in kind. We want your confirmation. And so HCI will take that information and they'll say, yeah, everything looks like it looks good. But the amount of effort that takes compared to $178,000 worth of fee, that's where the disconnect is. Okay? So we don't want to keep them from doing that. We just want them to look at this as, okay, are you spending 2 hours on the phone with them and then another 8 hours of a report, someone typing something out saying this is what the discussion was. We want the work to correspond to the action.
So the other thing we ask them to do is we want to make sure that if and when we need to repair or replace the dishwash equipment, that the other equipment able to do the dual function, can do the pot wash and the dishwash. So so we want them to make sure that this can be the case. Because once we sign on that it does do the job, then it should. The other thing.
No, let's stop there. Let's stop there because you bring up a really good point. We understand from the equipment manufacturer that the two pieces of equipment currently in the kitchen operating now, the dishwasher and the pot washer, they're labeled differently, right? One is clearly a pot wash and one's a dishwasher. But in the kitchen itself, they're interchangeable. We could do the dishes and the pot wash, and we can do the pot wash and the dishes. That's the way the kitchen is using the equipment currently. Therefore, when we replace the equipment in kind, we're going to continue to use it that way, right? And there is no special designation. There isn't, hey, I've got this piece of equipment that has a dual purpose. No, that's not it. It's the same piece of equipment. It just can be used interchangeably by staff as they see fit. Now, what does that mean? That means that if one of the pieces of equipment goes down, we can use the other one for both dishwash and hot wash.
Yeah.
Conversely, if the other one goes down, we can use it for both purposes. But it doesn't entail any additional, design, utilities, nothing like that. We're just connecting the two pieces of equipment. Now, it is important for everyone involved, especially TEF and their subs, that they hear this directly from the source. Yes? So I'm communicating secondhand that that's what the manufacturer told me. I have no problem whatsoever in getting in a call with TEF and the manufacturer so they can hear it directly from the manufacturer, so that they could feel assured that what they're hearing is correct and communicated correctly. That may take a couple hours worth of their time, but again, let's make sure that that is the correct number of hours that were being billed towards that effort to give them the confidence that they can move forward, right? And we're not going to put 2 weeks worth of effort into that. We're going to get in a phone call, and get the right people in that call, and after an hour, 2 hours, then we have to go ahead and proceed. Right.
So that's great. What TF, typically, and even a BOA typically look at feasibility studies is to go beyond the test fit in the sense that physically it will fit as a replacement. We also look into a little further, which could be part of a separate scope of work as part of the design. What I mean is that if and when one of the pieces of equipment goes down, we want to know, can we put up the liquid control barrier, the infection control barrier in place while able to get around to the other side to use the other equipment? Because if the other equipment is blocked or we have no plan how to get to use it, then we basically down two equipment. So that's part of what the feasibility study to make sure that it's indeed work. So that could be a later scope that could be extracted from here.
Yeah, it could be. And I would even expand on that. I would say that it's important to get the kitchen staff in this meeting as well, because
they're the ones.
Right now, the reason we're replacing this equipment is because they break down. They've reached their end of life, and we're spending a lot of time repairing them. But it's important to get the staff in here, because what are they doing now when one goes down? Right? They have to work with the other.
Working is fine, but if you put up the barrier that provide the working space within the one that needs to be fixed, does it encroach into the functional area, operational area of the other one?
I hear what you're saying, Ignatius, and I think that again, the way this gets resolved is that we're taking equipment apart. We're not necessarily doing construction, right? Contractor comes in, if he has to tear that equipment down, like we did when we did the floor, they come in and they cut it with shears or with a torch, but that's limited to the area of work, and it's done during a time when the kitchen is down. So we won't have the issue that you're describing, where we're trying to put an enclosure around a piece of equipment while the other equipment is in operation. We do have downtime. You go from, I think it's from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. where there is no one in the kitchen. That's historically where we do all the dirty work. Right?
Yeah.
And we would be able to do that work and have time to clean up, move equipment out of the way long before staff comes in. And it will give us time to do cleaning. It will give us time to do enclosures if we have to, temporary enclosures. But that all has to be done after hours,
Right.
and it can't be done while the other piece of equipment is in operation.
Right.
That might be how we get around that concern that you're pointing out, but as you stated, we can pull that service out, and if need be, we can address that at a later date.
Right, because I'm just talking out
Yeah.
in general, just to make sure that we cover the ground, make sure that we're future-proof and all that. One possibility is to lay out the equipment parallel to each other, 90 degrees of what we have right now, so that you come in the dirty and you get out the clean, and you can isolate one from the other without the interruption in the future. I'm just making this up. So, but I would like to have that in front of you so that you can make decisions about which way to go.
Yeah.
But as professional, as your support BOA, we want to put it out to you, and we want to make sure that our consultant is doing their job,
Yeah.
so that the equipment that now given to us, there's actually another one coming online that is better and cheaper and faster and all that. I just want to make sure that that is taken care of, so that it is not 5 years from now we have to redo this.
Understood. That I would advise that we just
At the
get,
next game, next
yeah,
year.
pull that out as an alternate,
Yeah.
right? And if we want to go that route, then we say, please do that exercise. I think that I value that, but honestly, at this point, if we went that route, it would have to be a very exceptional route, because to reorganize that dish area the way you just described as a hypothetical, we would have to take everything down, and we don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So that's why we do a little bit of pushback, right?
Yeah.
But I personally, I don't have a problem doing a study like you suggested. If there is a better solution, and it's let's bite the bullet now to get the benefits in the future, I'm all for it, but let's break it out.
Yeah, that second phase of the feasibility
Yeah.
study, so that you could have, facts in front of you to make decisions.
Fair.
So that could be part of their scope of work, could be brought out to another phase, and so to bring this to exactly what we anticipate and expected from them as their scope of work.
Yeah,
So,
excellent.
anything else? I will take your comment to Roger and forward that to Alyosha, so that you don't have to repeat again, but you said most permanent things already right now.
Usually north
Are
one.
there any, so one other thing, the cart wash addition, we want the consultants to look at the utility side, that there's another electrical panel that could supply the power to this new piece of equipment, that we have the right water pressure for the cart wash piece, and then want to look at how much steam will be created from this piece of equipment. We needed to be ducted exhaust out without, so that's.
All those things
yeah.
that you just mentioned, absolutely we want that, because as I mentioned, that piece of equipment doesn't exist in
Right.
our space. So in that instance, that's one of 3 pieces of equipment. We would want them to go the extra mile and verify everything needs to
Okay, wonderful. We're in alignment.
Okay.
Yes. So, thank you, and then we're just gonna videotape the site area to bring the site to them, so that hopefully by this Friday, we get the revised fee proposal to submit to you.